All right, so this is gonna be our post-incident analysis for the 42 Market Street apartment fire that we had. As I go through this, I'm just gonna go through each unit, have you give your story and what you did and what you're responsible for and how things went. And then any takeaways we have from this, that's the whole point, right? I'm sure in this we'll find something that we could have done better, find some things that we did really well, and those are what I'm looking for because I want the keys. And at the end of these, I usually like try to do just lessons learned at the end of it. Just from the outset, this looked like it went really well. So different mood, the last one. So anyway, so with that, we got dispatched out 2247 for this incident, and looks like Blaine, you were the first one out the door. So why don't you give us your thoughts and what you're thinking as you're heading en route to this scene?
Well, as I turned on the airport, I could kind of see the smoke, hit her up in the air. So I called for truck 13 as well, and a medicated to stage at the station. I think medic 34 was on a transfer at that time. And
MRI transfer.
MRI transfer. So they were sitting there waiting. Got them going, and then I heard Randy Whitfield give a size up, which was confusing because it wasn't great radio traffic. Wasn't real clear, but I heard him giving the size up of the apartment fire. And then I also heard LPD giving similar size up. So LPD said that there was flames coming from the second story window, and they were working on getting people evacuated out. What's that? Yeah, it's two-story apartment.
Two-story.
It's a townhouse.
The apartment.
I see the ones right here. Oh, okay.
So I knew that we wanted to get the truck set up
Right.
appropriately and in a good area, and they did. They set up perfectly. Closed with the front door. Everything went well from my perspective.
Did anybody tell you any life threat or anything like that when you arrived on scene?
LPD came up to me and said that they evacuated all the bottom floors. They couldn't get to the second story where the fire room was at. So that was the only thing that they had able to search. But they said they called out nobody was at home. So, and I think I relayed that to Mike that they hadn't gotten the second story search done, but
All right,
they're
so
going on that level.
it's a little bit of the time. The next in unit is Mike. So what were you thinking on your way in the scene and arrival on scene?
Initial dispatch seemed good, like it was gonna be a working fire because of the input on CAD. So we'd already kind of formulated a plan, knew we were gonna get a hydrant. I didn't know that it was the two stories originally. I thought it was the single story. So my brain trying to figure out how we're gonna get in there, and then looked at it, realized it was a second story. So I told Nick we'll stay out on Market. That way we can ladder the roof. Knew we had a good hydrant, and Randy gave his size up, and it really confused me too, because I think they use that repeater up there. So their handhelds don't work over here very well. And so it was like really broken. And I thought he was giving a size up in Sweet Home for something, and I had missed something. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why is he giving a size up?
Yeah.
And so I was originally and the one thing I probably would have done differently, and it worked out fine because Randy was there, but originally I told Hayden to take the hydrant. Because it wasn't gonna be that far of a delay, but I wanted to make sure we got a hydrant because the engine hadn't went en route yet. They were still transitioning over Sunday. We were gonna have a little bit of a delay. And then last minute, I decided not to, because it was gonna be an easy hand stretch that I wanted him, just so we could get our initial attack going. So we pulled up, told Nick, make sure we get the turntable when we get to the roof, because I figured we were gonna have to vent it as much fire as we had. Blaine was coming around Second Market at the time that I was getting ready to give a size up. So I just gave a brief size up, didn't go into really any length because I knew he was gonna do a better size up. So I just went on scene with a working fire in a two-story apartment complex. So we got off, told Dan to pull across to the front door. I got off, Randy met me with Starhaw and said, we searched the bottom floor, there's nobody in it, we couldn't make it to the second floor. There's fire vent out the window. So I told, okay, so can we help you? And I said, yeah, help him stretch the hydrant. So they helped Nick, actually, he said Randy took his hydrant for him. And Dan pulled the crosslay around. I did a 360. We were waiting Dan came around, Hayden came around. I gave a follow-up 360 Blaine, let you know what we had. To me, it looked like we were gonna be in pretty good shape because I could see the first floor was clear of smoke. I could see literally the back of the apartment. It looked pretty stable, looked like it, and when I come on my 360, there was little bit of smoke coming out of the Alpha side, but not anything significant. It was obviously blowing out that Charlie side a little hard. So as we were getting dressed, getting stuff on, I don't know if it lost a window, lost a door, lost something. It kind of picked up a little bit and started really blowing out. So I told Dan, I said, let's reset that. And we had to have water. I hadn't called for water, so called for water. Dan reset it real quick. I had Hayden hold the door because initially we shut the door. When we came around, the door popped back open because it had been kicked, I'm guessing. So I had Hayden hold the door to keep it from flow pathing. We got set up, got ready to go. And I went up because we still had, the engine was just getting there. So I went up the stairs just to take a look, see what it looked like. Seeing where the fire was at, came back down. That's when I met up with you and I said, hey, can we go in? And Dan and I and Hayden went up. We hit the second floor deck, was right there at the bedroom door. I said, you guys take the fire. I'm gonna do a search. So I went and did a primary search of the other two bedrooms while they were knocking fire down and vented the windows on the Alpha side, opened them. And when I came back, they were pretty much, fire was taken care of at that point. Ceiling had come in at some point during that, whether it came in prior to us going upstairs or after we got in there with the spraying water, that the sheetrock came down. So we were able to see into the attic. There was no extension in the attic. Firewall was good. It went quick, went easy as far as the fire attack goes. And
Do you draw on here where you put your truck?
Right there's your turntable.
Yeah.
Where the arrow is.
Yep.
yeah, pretty much. So,
Good placement.
and the ladder went to, there was a window there and a window there. And Nick had it kind of right in the middle there. So, and then pulled the lines there.
Did you pull the 115 mic on that? Or is that the 200?
I don't know what he pulled.
Pull the smooth bore, so it was a 200.
200.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I pulled 150.
And we had plenty of hose. Oh,
Yes.
It looked like it deployed. I know in the other shifts they're talking about, they've had it happen twice now that this ends up in a knot. When they deployed that line. And so,
Is this from the previous fire?
yeah,
Yeah, no,
We
we determined that wasn't the issue on that
Okay.
fire. So that fire, they went in, initially knocked down, and as they shut down, they backed that line up, and then when they pulled that line forward again, it went underneath the line.
gotcha.
So
it
the
wasn't
initial
it wasn't
deployment
deployment
wasn't an
issue, okay.
no. Doesn't sound like it was.
Yeah, I think I was the next on scene after you. So I showed up, I parked behind you, and then, walked up, you made me Charlie Division. So I wandered over. I caught you guys just as you got done resetting the fire. And then you were about to go in and we have 2 and 2 out. And you guys were pulling up just about that time. And it's like, yep, go. Because you could tell if we could just knock it out, we'd be done with it. And so you guys blitzed upstairs and knocked that out. And then you were coming up with the backup line pretty soon after that, if I remember right. And then it was just getting searches at that point. It was the primary, because I didn't know necessarily what was next door to it. Because the way that these work is this is the apartment and there's firewall and it's broke, and then there's apartment here. And so anyways, we just worked on getting those, and you and Corey went in and did a full initial primary, because I never got that you did a primary on that second. I didn't know that. So that was.
Did you?
I copied
Okay.
it.
Did you copy it? Maybe I did, I just don't remember.
I think it showed up there.
Yeah, it's on the,
I think we did a secondary.
yeah, we did a secondary.
Search all.
It went, the primary was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was easy to search, so.
Yeah, primary, secondary, clear on 2300. Yeah, it would have been about then, been time right. And then it was looking for extension and knockdown for me at that point. The next one was engine 31. So Stacy, let you show where you were at. And
Well, we
And
we were initially told to take a hydrant, and then we got told to do backup. So we ended up not taking a hydrant, and we parked about right here. Right there.
Yeah, because that was between the time of Randy taking taking that hydrant. There's a hydrant right there at the corner, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of engine 31 ticket, since you guys
Well, we were going, we had already, in our heads, we were taking a hydrant one way or the other. I just made that decision at the last minute to hand jack, and then we ended up a little farther forward. There ended up being a little bit more distance. I mean, I think he went 200 feet, right? Roughly, so it wasn't horrible, but we should have probably tagged it just to have it.
Yeah, it wasn't,
I was just, like I said, I knew the engine was a little late, or not late, but they were just behind us enough because we got there quick that I wanted to have him so we could go in and, make things happen. And so it ended up working out great with Randy and Josh there because they were able to do the hydrant for us. So, in retrospect, I would have taken the hydrant.
Yeah, I would just recommend.
Yeah.
Just in our system, the way it is, that you just take the hydrant.
Well, we were
We had
not
We
gonna
had
take
that-
it.
We were not, so when I pulled onto Market, I saw the smoke over the road and I'm like, and with Randy's size up, cause I heard the size up and I was like, I figured that was our fire. And I don't know, for me, I just thought, oh, and I thought, and when I heard fire venting from the building, I'm like, oh, we got a working fire, and I didn't know at that point where the engine was. So I'm like, I mean, we could blow through my water supply quick, so I want to tag a hydrant. And I had looked on my pulse, on my active before we went en route to see where my hydrants were on that Market, and I saw that one, and then I saw the one on the corner. And so I knew that I could hand jack that hydrant. So that's where I told Mike, just focus on getting there, because I mean, they got to get their packs on and all that stuff too. And I mean, I just jumped out, and the first thing I did was jack that hose back to that hydrant. And then Randy and Josh came over after I got the hose there, and then they connected.
Yeah, as long as it's in your plan.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
We
important
had
part.
talked about
Yeah,
that. We knew we
100%.
were gonna tag a water supply.
Yeah, and it was literally at the last, like, we were passing Wilco, the River Center, and I'm like, because I told Hayden, I'm gonna need you to take the hydrant. And then at the last second, I'm like, you know what, let's just lay in because it's close, or just go in, it's close enough, he can hand jack while we're getting stuff established, we'll be good. And that's what we did it, but and I verbalized that on the radio, which probably should have done that we were gonna have a water supply either way, but I didn't do that, so. But he had before I even got my pack on, the line was back to the hydrant. I mean, that's literally the first thing he did, he set the brake and that line was going to the hydrant,
So
so.
my aerial or my PTO.
Yeah.
Out the door.
Did you ever make any contact with the resident?
I
of this
never,
place?
the only people I talked to was Randy and Josh, and they met me at the cab of the engine when I was throwing my pack.
Hmm.
So I didn't know,
she was gone.
I never knew anything about occupants or anything. I mean, obviously I knew it was occupied because the lights were on and it looked like somebody was in there, but other than that, I never had anybody tell me anything different, so.
Well, she's the one that lit it, right? I mean, she purposely lit it.
That's what it leans to, but there's no.
So I was just, I did a search just anyway, because I didn't know, so.
Yeah, there's kid stuff in there.
Yeah.
The one next to it was vacant.
Yeah,
That's the office they're getting ready to do a remodel in that building. And that was the office for the construction workers.
another minute, 2 minutes, we would have two apartments on fire. I don't know what point that other window gave.
Yeah, and it was working into that.
Yeah.
I think
We
it
had
was,
melted
I
the
sent you and Corey over there just to take a look at it. And then there was
Yeah, that
no
window was
extension.
broke in the other.
Yeah, and I don't know if it broke when we hit it with water, like if water hit it and tempered it, broke it, or if it just blew out with the fire, but if it did, it was simultaneously with us putting the fire out, because it was minutes from it being in another apartment.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a good stretch. Let's see, who else? So we had Truck 21, they came back to me and I had them do a secondary search is really. We initially were gonna have them, they were having trouble getting through the soffit, and we weren't sure if it had reached the soffit because of the smoke push. The smoke was blowing across and it would every now and again blow through there. And so we were getting smoke under that soffit, so we weren't sure if it was burning. And they were having trouble reaching out to the window to try to pull it. So we're initially gonna have Sweet Home go up and pull that soffit, but it was pretty solid once they got up there and actually chopped a hole in it, so. Didn't really have to do much there, and then we sent them down, and they did a quick search of the adjacent apartment and, the fire apartment, and didn't find anything, and so. There was supposedly a cat somewhere in that second apartment, but those always seem to get away, so whatever.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, that's true. That's McKinsey about that. Other than that, does anybody else have anything on this? I don't have a whole lot.
We never did get power secured.
Oh, we did.
Eventually.
When we got home, I said,
Yes.
they called me as I
Yeah.
got back to the station, hey, power's here, which.
Well, I meant on scene.
Oh, yeah.
And so I ended up, I asked Mark, I'm like, hey, can I shut the breakers off? And we ended up shutting everything down before we left, because it still had, I mean, you could have went and had dinner at the kitchen table before we left.
Yeah,
Lights were on.
well, we were talking about that because they could just pull the meter on that apartment too, which was nice. And they, each one has a separate meter on their apartments that's through that building, so.
Where were the utilities on that gas? I mean, where was the gas hooked up on those? Is that on
the
that, is that on
Market
the
Street
Charlie side or
Mhm.
Market Street side?
That's, this, it would have been your house.
Is that right? There's a plant.
To your left.
Built up the meter there. So.
But, yeah, no, I don't know, it seemed to go pretty smooth and don't really have a whole lot.
I'll
on
be honest, it was like anticlimactic when we got up there. I'm like, that was it. The she was blowing fire out of it. That's it. I was like, that's all we got. So, no, I was pleased though when we got up there, because it was, I mean, Dan, they sprayed some water, but there wasn't any fire when we got up there. It was just all smoke at that point. So it really resetting it from the ground did everything we wanted it to do. And I really wish I'd had a camera on, because the flow path was pretty phenomenal watching. When I went up the stairs, you could just see the air pulling that smoke up the stairwell. But so holding the door after we reset it helped tremendously too, because it hadn't lost any windows on the chart or on the alpha side, so there was no airflow for it. And so resetting it, shutting the door helped tremendously from it coming back, I think.
Anything from the engineer perspective?
No, I think it went really well. My priorities were obviously fire, water supply, fire attack first, and then I figured if they didn't get a knock on it, we were gonna vent and maybe even vent anyway. So I got that the stick up, and then after I saw Maynard at that window on that Alpha Bravo side, and so I threw that ladder there because I'm just like, well, I'll just throw that there in case. And that one was kind of like already out. I mean, he was searching, and so I just dropped the stick lower and used those our tip lights to try to shine into those bedrooms, to try to give them a little bit of light in there. And then just work through the process. I mean, it really.
Who threw the ladder on that side? Was that you?
Yeah.
The ground ladder?
Ground ladder, yeah.
Good job.
The one thing that I did have in mind when we first got there was, because I figured we were gonna have to vent it. And that's what we'd set up. That's why we set up where we did, because I figured somebody was gonna have to go put a bed in that apartment, so. It worked out perfect.
Initially, when I looked on my active, it looked like it was in the back. So I thought we were gonna, because that's what I was asking him. I'm like, you want me to back in there or pull into the parking lot? Because I thought it was on that back side towards like Walker, towards the north.
Thing, where you guys staged that though, if we had to, we could have got truck from one on that Charlie side too.
Yeah.
That would have been part of your scrub area, but we could have backtracked everyone in there.
Yeah, we had a light post that kept us from being able to see it.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I had to come up and then go all the way around to get to that. I couldn't scrub because of that.
But we could have reached the other two apartments easily.
Yeah, that Alpha. Bravo side.
Yeah, so you guys did the initial overhaul when Engine 32 did show up. They combined with Brush 35 and then went up and finished doing the overhaul up there. But they didn't have a whole lot they needed to do up there. Anything else, Blaine?
No, it was nice to stand back and watch you guys work, and it was pretty phenomenal. Especially after just watching the truck get set up. Nick did a fantastic job. Mike led the crew in perfectly, so it was nice just to be able to stand back and let you guys go to work and not have to direct as a micromanager or anything like that, so.
Cool.
Hayden, Luis, you guys have anything? How's your night out there?
Well, the power guy showed up and he's like, you guys aren't firefighters. The fire department, like, yeah, he's like, no, you guys aren't firefighters. Like, no, we're making.
Well, you guys worked around on this, me and Ben took care of the MRI transfer.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, well, and had we had you guys with us, we would have, I mean, things would have went
Well,
We would have went to the roof, you guys.
Sounds like
would've went
Randy
to the
and
roof.
Starhawk took our jobs.
We would have been able to flow that, but everything was set up really nice on the fire.
Yeah,
And we were prepared to do more if we needed to.
so we had people coming too, so it wasn't a hurry to wait, so.
It was funny,
When I called en route, I said, I asked, do we have backfill? And she's like, well, they're going to scene. I'm like, well, then we need an engineer unit moved up on top of that if you already sent him to scene. Because it sounded like they needed to go to scene at that point.
Randy being gone for just a few years, he had forgot how we took our hydrants here. He was trying to take the 5-inch off. I was like, hey, it goes on the side. Because there wasn't a storage adapter on it. It was just a. Josh, come over here and do this.
After the LPD had left and we got Breast 35 back in and the critters had come out, it was like people wandering everywhere.
And a Rocky came up to me. She's like, but there was barely any people on us. Well, you were on the other side. There for a while, we had an audience of
Oh, it
about
was
30
enough.
people.
Yeah.
In a little courtyard back there.
Yeah.
Foster said they have a 6-minute video of the fire from the manager. She took video prior to our arrival. And, I don't know if the fire was blown out at the time. But she got video of us there and putting water on the fire and stuff. They're trying to get it to be able, off her phone, to be able to put it onto a thumb drive and be able to whatever, have a previous record. But she has a 6-minute video of the first few minutes of the fire.